Carol. It is so good to see you. Oh, now, before the boys get back and we need to leave for the gala, I have to tell you about what happened last night. So, as you know, it was Charley and Myra's 10th wedding anniversary. We were going over there as a group of friends to have some nice time and uplift them in their marriage. But you won't believe what happened. Oh, let me rewind. So it all started with Lenny and I getting ready. We had a lovely time just enjoying each other's company. I got all dressed. I was wearing the perfume he gave me for Christmas. It drives him crazy. We were really enjoying our time. It was super sweet and everything. Then we realized, oh my gosh, we're going to be late for the party. So we have to take off. We leave. We quickly hop in a new BMW and we start driving. We're only about 5 minutes away from Charley and Myra's when another car shoots out of a garage, hits us, blindsides us, and sends the car spinning. Lenny's neck is hurting, my lip is split, and we start freaking out. Then we realize we're closer to Charley and Myra's than we are to our own house, so we just keep driving. Then, when we arrive there, I help Lenny out of the car, we show up to the door, and Chris answers. Yeah, Chris and Ken. Gorman, yep. No Charley and Myra in sight. And I instantly was like, this is very interesting. I mean, it's the 10th wedding anniversary, for Pete's sake. Where did they go? But I had a split lip. I was trying to help Lenny, so I forgot about it for a little bit, and we got all settled. Then, when we're sitting down in the house, Chris pulls me aside, and we start talking. And I can sense something is wrong. And she wants to tell me, but there's something in her that won't let her tell me. And she's so close to finally letting it out when Ken bursts through Charley's room and stops her from telling me. So then I decide to pull Lenny aside, and I start telling him, you know what? I think something is wrong here. And he won't listen to me. He says, no, you're going crazy. There's no way anything is happening. But I knew it. I had an inkling, and I'm never wrong about these things. Well, then he brings up the fact that there's no way anything could be wrong. So then I have to bring up the fact, the thing that you and I were talking about last week, and I told him, you know what Carol Newman told me? Carol Newman knows that Charley's having an affair. I told him, and I had to tell him in this moment. You will understand. Yes. So I tell him, and then he lanches back at me, and you know what he says? He says, Myra's having the affair. I know, I was absolutely crazy. There's no way that Myra would ever have an affair on Charley. But I guess it's the same way Lenny feels about Charley, as they are best friends. So we kept talking, trying to figure out what was going on, and I was absolutely convinced that something was weird. Well then, Ken comes downstairs, sits Lenny and I down, and tells us some horrific news. Just wait for it. Charley's been shot. I know, I was freaking out. Is he dead? I didn't know what was going on. And then I go down, and he starts saying, no, don't freak out. It's okay. Charley's been shot in the earlobe. And I said, oh my gosh, that's totally fine. I have holes in my earlobes. It doesn't hurt. But then we realized it was most likely Myra. Myra found out about the hot affair that Charley was having, went ahead and shot him, and then she ran away because we couldn't find Myra. Well, then Ken tells us that when him and Chris were arriving, he went upstairs to check on Charley, and he had a ripped up suicide note flushing down the toilet. I hate to say this. We still don't know what happened. We don't know if he was really trying to commit suicide or not, but it's okay. Charley's doing okay, so it's all okay. We were really freaking out trying to figure out everything that had happened when all of a sudden we hear a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, you know who it was? Cookie and Ernie Cusack. Yeah, Ernie, Charley's analyst, and Cookie's the cooking talk show host. I don't really know what she does, but she's sweet and all, I guess. She's a little older. Anyways, they show up and we all have to decide whether or not we're going to go ahead and tell them. Because it's really important if we decide to tell them what happened. And we all agree, because we don't know any of the true facts, we're not going to say anything. And I was fine with that. I decided that was absolutely perfect. Until Ernie started getting suspicious. They started grilling us, trying to figure out what was happening. And I was absolutely out of my mind. I really couldn't say much. He just kept grilling us and grilling us. So then Chris decides that we are going to go ahead and cook them dinner. It was all part of Myra's plan, she said, for us to go ahead and cook them a lovely dinner. And Cookie, being the cook, naturally was the one for us to go ahead, sit down, and make us the meal. So Cookie and Ernie go into the kitchen as we're all trying to figure out what else to do. And then a gunshot goes off. I'm telling you, it was like a movie. I didn't know what to do. We were worried if somebody else heard it. And then we also have to keep it a secret from Ernie and Cookie. Well then, we hear a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. We all start freaking out. What is happening? Then Cookie goes ahead, drops a boiling hot water all over her arm, and hurts Ernie. And he gets glass shards everywhere. The two of them are hurt. The door's knocked. A gunshot just went off. And there is utter chaos ensuing. Finally, I can't handle it anymore. Chris can't handle it anymore. She takes me, grabs me, and we go into the powder room. Well then, we are listening through the door and find out that Glenn and Cassie, they had arrived at the party. You know, Glenn, Koopa, yes, he's running for state senate in Poughkeepsie. Anyways, so the two of them come in, and everyone's favorite couple. We know she's pretty, we know she's young, but they start arguing. And everyone thinks they have a perfect marriage, but no. We heard everything about their relationship, seriously. It was quite annoying. They just kept going on and on and on. Oh, but you didn't hear it from me. Anyways, we eventually came out of the powder room. We were all talking. And then Lenny goes berserk. He can't handle it anymore. We're all sitting down. Cookie brings out the dinner. We're all eating dinner. And Lenny decides to tell everyone the truth of what we know. Now, granted, no one really knows what happened. We just know the facts from when we arrived. So we're all trying to share the facts, figure everything out, say it from everyone's perspective, and really no one can understand anything. And finally, knock, 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 a third knock at the door. We all freak out because it's the police. So I blast some music. I get up and we all start dancing. We're dancing around the room and it's super fun. And we're like, you know what? We didn't hear the knocks. They're not going to come in. No issues. Until the police bust down the door. And then there were issues. The police come in and they start interrogating everyone, asking us this thing and that thing. And really, I didn't even know what they were trying to ask for. Apparently, they were just curious about the BMW because it was smashed in. So we're all going around telling our stories, trying to keep the gunshots on the DL because no one really knows what happened. And right as they're leaving, Glenn tells them about the gunshots. And we all are like, you have got to be kidding me. That Glenn, I don't know if he's really going to make it for state senate. Anyways, then we all have to cover and explain about the gunshot. And finally, the police ask to talk to Charley. Well, Charley is in no state to talk to anyone right now, so thankfully beforehand we had planned for if anyone asked, Lenny would pretend to be Charley. So Lenny comes down from Charley's room and explains the entire story. Well, a fake story, but a very believable story to these police. And finally, the police more or less accept the story and head out. Now, at this point, we are absolutely exhausted. Lenny and I decide that we need to go home. His neck is hurting, my lip is split open, and it's still bleeding. We have to go home and get some rest, because this night was crazy. And as we're leaving, there's a knock from the cellar door. Myra was trapped in the cellar. Myra came out, then Charley came out. They were both unable to say anything, so we all just left and let them be. We haven't heard anything from them since. I really hope they're doing all right. You know, they're really a great couple, and this was not how they wanted the 10th anniversary to go, but it was definitely interesting. I really don't know how the marriage is going. Oh, but you didn't hear the rumors from me.